Sophie was standing at her usual bus stop one quiet morning when a wild black bear emerged from the bushes and slowly approached her. Fear gripped her as she remembered the dangers of wild animals, but the bear didn't act aggressively. Instead, it watched her with curiosity, as if inviting her to follow. Despite the instinct to run, Sophie felt an odd calm and decided to take a step toward the bear. It growled softly, then moved back a few steps, as if guiding her into the forest. What did the bear want, and why was it seeking her help? Stay tuned for today's video on Animals Need Love to find out. It was a typical peaceful morning as Sophie stood at her usual bus stop, waiting for the bus that would take her to the library. The world around her was calm, with the hum of the city just starting to stir as the sun bathed everything in a soft golden light. Sophie, a biology student with a deep interest in wildlife, had spent countless hours studying animals, learning about their behavior, instincts, and ecosystems. She had always been fascinated by the complex relationships animals formed with their environment, but nothing could have prepared her for the unexpected encounter that was about to unfold. In an instant, the serenity shattered. A wild black bear emerged from the nearby bushes, its dark form moving with slow, deliberate steps toward her. Her heart skipped a beat, and fear surged through her. She had heard all the stories. Bears were unpredictable, dangerous, and capable of deadly attacks. But as the bear drew nearer, something strange happened. It didn't show any signs of aggression. Instead, it stopped a few feet away, watching her intently. Sophie's breath hitched as she froze, but then she noticed the bear wasn't charging or snarling. It simply stood there, its gaze calm, almost curious. The fear that had gripped her chest began to loosen, replaced by a confusing sense of calm. This wasn't what she had expected from a wild animal. There was no anger or hunger in its eyes, only an odd, almost gentle presence. As a student of animal behavior, Sophie knew that most wild animals wouldn't hesitate to act defensively if they felt threatened, but this bear wasn't acting like that at all. Sophie's mind raced, torn between her deep understanding of wildlife and the strange pull she felt in the presence of the bear. Her instinct was to run, but her studies had taught her to never assume a wild animal's intentions, based on fear alone. Something in the bear's calm demeanor made her think it wasn't a danger. Instead of fleeing, Sophie felt an inexplicable urge to step closer. She had always admired animals from a distance, studying their behaviors in books and documentaries, but this was real. This was a moment she never could have prepared for. Against all logic, she decided to follow. As Sophie took her first cautious step forward, the bear didn't retreat or react aggressively. Instead, it let out a low growl, then turned and walked a few steps away, glancing over its shoulder as if waiting for her to follow. The quiet growl wasn't threatening, it felt more like a signal, a quiet encouragement. Sophie hesitated for just a moment, her heart racing with both fear and curiosity. As a student studying animal behavior, she recognized that the bear's actions were unusual, calm, deliberate, almost as if it were guiding her. Slowly, she began walking after the bear, unsure of where this path would lead, but knowing that her understanding of animals was about to be tested in a way she had never imagined. Each step Sophie took after the bear took her deeper into the thick bush. Tall trees and thick underbrush quickly blocked out the noise of the city, leaving only the rustling of leaves and the faraway chirping of birds. It became strangely quiet, and Sophie felt the weight of being alone. A quick look at the bear showed that it was steadily leading her, occasionally looking back at her to make sure she was still on its trail. Thoughts of questions were racing through her head, but the bear stopped in front of a small opening before she could collect them. It twitches its ears and sniffed the air before letting out a low growl that could have been a warning or a call for Sophie to come forward. Sophie carefully walked into the open when she saw something that scared her. There was a campsite in the middle of the bush that had been left empty. The tent was torn and half done, and the area looked like it was quickly left. Supplies were spread out on the ground, including empty cans, a backpack, and pieces of clothes that had been left behind in the bushes. When Sophie got close to the camp, her heart skipped a beat because she was so interested. What was going on here? Who had forgotten to take all of this? Sophie looked over the camp very carefully. Each thing there told a piece of a story of a hasty exit. Her hand touched something small and metal as she went through the jumbled things. It was a shiny pendant with a family picture carved into it. The picture was worn, but still clear. There was an old camera next to it, with a memory card that was only half full. A leather-bound notebook, on the other hand, caught her eye. When Sophie opened the book, she saw that it was the log of a traveler who had gone deep into the wilderness to learn about the animals that lived there. In the first comments, people wrote about how beautiful the forest was and how the animals behaved. Nature meant a lot to the traveler, and his work showed that he was at peace with everything around him. But as Sophie read, the mood started to change. The tourist became even more obsessed with one animal in particular. He wrote about his desire to find and write about a rare polar bear cub that was said to have white fur. As time went on, his writing got crazier, with more trap designs and notes about sedatives. Sophie felt her stomach get tight as she read. The man's respect for the animals had turned into an unhealthy infatuation that would push him to do terrible things. After reading the last few lines, Sophie understood everything. As the tourist talked about his plans to catch the elusive polar bear cub at any cost, his speech became more and more jumbled. For his documentary, he set traps in the forest because he was so interested in the cub and thought it was the most important thing he had ever found. It was proven in the most recent entry, which was made just 2 days ago. The bait is ready. Set up the cameras. It will be tomorrow when I get the cub. I will be gone before anyone knows it. Once I catch it, this is what I'll leave behind. Claire's heart sank when she realized the truth. Not just any bear was taking her through the forest. It was the mother of the polar bear cub the traveler had been after. There was no chance about this. Sophie was brought here by the bear to stop the journey and save her child. The bear's growl, his movements, and his gentle nudges to follow made sense now. Sophie was trusted by the bear to help. With a newfound drive, Sophie quickly read through the book, looking for clues on each page. The tourist had talked about setting up traps in certain parts of the forest and using sketches and maps to mark the spots. Lack of time was becoming apparent. Since the sun was going down, the forest shadows got longer, making it harder to see the way ahead. However, Sophie knew she had to move quickly. The bear started moving faster when it sensed her determination. It looked back every so often to make sure Sophie was still following. As they went deeper into the bush, Sophie could feel the weight of her duty pressing down on her. It was different from the other things she had studied her whole life. This happened. Sophie couldn't leave the cub with someone who wanted to use it for fame because the bear needed her. She looked around at the thick trees and bushes while her mind was on the clues in the book. She finally heard it. So faintly that she almost couldn't hear it, but it was clear. A baby bear's cry. Driving herself to move faster and follow the sound deeper into the woods, Sophie's heart was racing. The scream got louder as Sophie pushed through the bushes. Her legs hurt from working so hard. Later, she saw a small opening in the road where a white bear cub was caught in one of the traveler's traps. Fear made its tiny body shake, and its soft cries tore at Sophie's heart. The thought of how to help her made her run forward quickly. Even though the trap was strong, she was able to open it. When she got close, the cub jumped, not sure if it should trust her or not. Sophie knelt down next to the trap and whispered, "Shh, it's okay." It was so scared that the bear cub's body was stiff as it looked at her. Sophie carefully pried open the trap. Her fingers were shaking, but she was able to get the catch out. The cub was hesitant at first, but it finally climbed out of the trap and ran toward its mother with a squeak. The mother bear was there, looking at them from the edge of the opening. She looked happy in her eyes. When the cub got to her, the mother bear cuddled her child, sending warmth and safety signals. Sophie moved away from them to give them space, but she was very happy inside. Pure love and faith, which they didn't say, bound them together. As the sun went down, covering the forest floor in long shadows, Sophie saw the two bears disappear into the trees, their shapes becoming one with the nightfall. It made her feel good to know that she had helped keep this family safe. This was a lesson she would never forget about trust, duty, and the bond between people and animals that they don't always talk about. But this journey is far from over. There are countless more stories of creatures in need, of nature calling out for help. What do you think the bear's silent guidance truly meant? Have you ever had a surprising encounter with the wild? Leave a comment below. We'd love to hear your thoughts. If you enjoyed this adventure, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel Animals Need Love. Thank you so much for watching to the end. Wishing you all peace, happiness, take care, and we'll see you in the next one.